What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. I'm finally going to stop procrastinating and get started on the electrical system for the 6.0 CUCV. Okay, so one of the first things I need to do is get the old wire harness off of the 6.2. It's still got the whole harness on it. I need the bulkhead connector for the firewall. I need the wire for the transmission kickdown. The fuel level sending wire is in here. The alternator charge wires are in this. The exciter wire for the starter. I need all of those, so I'm going to get that harness pulled off of this engine and sort out what I need and what I don't. Okay, so we've got our harness pulled off of the old 6.2 liter engine. I'm going to get all the looming off of it, and that's going to let me pull out the things that I do need, the things that I don't need, and then start getting everything sorted. So, we've got all the old looming off, all the old taped up connections. We've got it laid out in some kind of ish sense here. So, next thing I'm going to do is get it essentially split in half. The things that I still need and the things that I don't need anymore. So I'm going to get all of those things taken out, and then I'll neatly tie up the wires that I am going to need so they're ready to go. Alright, so I've got my CUCV harness sorted out. I got a bunch of the excess wiring that I'm not going to need anymore out of it. I've got what I'm pretty sure I'm not going to need tied up here. These are some battery positives. I don't think I'm going to need these all either. And these are the power and grounds for the alternators, which I also don't think I'm going to need. And then over here I have the wires that I definitely know I'm going to need. My transmission kickdown, fuel level sensor, exciter wire for the starter, positive feed into the fuse block, temperature sensor, one or two others also. And I got my wiper controls right up here. I know I'm going to need those also. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the harness from the 6-liter truck all sorted out. Alright, so here's my harness from the 6-liter truck. Like I said, I know there's some pieces I'm not going to need, like the transmission control part, the air conditioning control parts, some of the oxygen sensor pieces I'm not going to need, but a lot of it I am. So I pulled it complete. I even have the fuse panel here, which I believe is going to help me out later on in the process. But I'm going to get all the looming stripped off first and then go from there. Okay, so I've got enough of the harness unwrapped here that I'm going to be able to get the wires out of the connectors that I need to, and then I'll trace them through the rest of it because I want to try to keep the most of this in the same shape it is now. I'm using the pinout guides from lt1swap.com. It's recommended by a ton of people, so you can get the same information there. I'm not going to go into it in super detail, but I'm going to start pulling out all the wires that I don't need to thin this out, and it's going to be a standalone, run the engine only harness. everybody, so we're back. It's the next day. I'm picking up where I left off, gonna keep getting things labeled and things removed that I'm not gonna need, try to move through this. All right, so I've got my engine harness all weeded out, laid out, labeled. The next thing I'm gonna do, because I wanna try to get this tidied up to a point that makes sense, is actually lay it on the engine and get things connected to where I know they need to be connected, and then figure out how I wanna actually tie this up and loom it. Everybody, welcome back. So it's been a few days since I posted a video up for you. I apologize, between the long weekend and I'm honestly just struggling waiting on parts to get here. I'm trying to just keep working on this thing a little bit every day, even though I'm waiting on a lot of stuff to get here. So a couple updates since where I left off. I pulled the front cover back off of this thing, the timing cover, so I can get my oil drain return line set up for the turbo. I'll show you that here in a minute. I went ahead, connected up a ground and a power supply, cranked the engine over with no spark plugs in it just to get the oil system primed up and get that going. I'm still waiting on parts and pieces to get my turbo oil feed set up, to get my oil pressure gauge set up. I'm still waiting for that stuff to get here. But I was able to get the bolts I need to mount the turbo onto the flange. So that's what I'm gonna work on today. All right, so we got a little update. I have my wiring spliced, sorted out for my narrow band oxygen sensor. I'm retaining this so I can adjust the programming and still run closed loop. That way, you know, the computer will compensate for differences, changes in atmospheric pressure, temperature, humidity, things like that. I found how to do this on Low Buck LS, so I'll link that in the description. You can check that out if you want to do the same thing. Our studs cooled down, so we've got our turbo sitting up in place where it goes. All right, everybody. Well, I'm gonna call that it for now on this video. I've for lack of a better way to say it, I've run out of parts to keep moving forward. I spent the last couple hours getting my wiring all done. I've more or less got it to the point that I'm gonna be able to finish getting everything hooked up when my parts start getting here. Hopefully that'll be tomorrow and the next day. And then I can start this thing up. I gotta get my 12 volt constants and my 12 volt switched sources hooked up. I've got to get my grounds connected behind the intake manifold, but I also need to get that pulled off so I can get my turbo feed plumbed in to where the oil pressure sensor is, as well as my new oil pressure sensor. And then I'm waiting on some longer spark plug wires to get here for the passenger side. And last but not least, I'm waiting for my fitting to get here so I can finish my return from the turbo. But for the most part, I mean, I got a lot done today, even though I didn't have a lot to work with. Wiring is one of those tedious, not super exciting to watch things, but you have to get it done. So I just went ahead and turned the radio on and banged out wiring to try to get this thing ready to start as soon as those last few pieces get here. So thanks so much for watching. I'll put a link to Low Buck LS's YouTube channel in the description, as well as all the parts that I used today in the video, in case you're interested in any of that stuff. Lowbuck LS has figured out a good way, quite a few good ways to get this harness to where I want it to be, where you may want yours to be also. So make sure you check out his YouTube channel and his website. But until the next video, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you comment if you have any questions or input. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And subscribe so you don't miss any updates. Not to mention it helps me out. We'll see you soon.